everybody, it's Dawn and welcome back to this series. And today I am going to show you a few useful colour mixes that you might find helpful in your watercolour paintings. And I'm going to show you 5 mixes today, and the first one is a shadow mix. So I have got some dioxazine purple, so it's just called, don't worry about the fancy names. So if I bring my palette over, dip my brush, so I've got my purple in here, and I'm just going to put some on my palette like that, wash my brush out a little, and I'm going to go into Payne's grey next. So you need any type of purple, so you need a purple, a Payne's grey, and just to warm it up a bit, we've got just a little bit of burnt sienna. So you've got a purple, a Payne's grey, a burnt sienna, and that'll give you a sort of muddy grey, which is perfect for shadows. So what we're going to do, I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm just going to pick up this puddle of paint that I've made on my palette here, and we're going to paint a shadow from this tree. We're going to finish off this very simple scene, so we're just going to very lightly paint this shadow, roughly in the shape of the tree. So we're going to just paint that like that. And if you want it to be a little bit more muted, if you want it to be not quite so obvious, just take a brush, put some more water on it, and very gently blend it. Just make sure that those edges are nice and soft. Pick up a bit of the colour underneath and blend it. So just gently rub the edges, and that will give you a nice blended shadow. And I think we're going to leave that like that. That's fine. So then we're going to move on, and we are going to do a light green, and we're going to do a bit of grass here. I think we'll pick up a bigger brush than that. So we're just going to grab another brush, another round brush, I think, and I'm going to pick up a cadmium yellow, which is that one there, and we're just going to pop some on the palette like that. Just wash the brush out a bit, and we're going to pick up a sap green like that. Just twist the brush in the paint. I think we might do a little bit more because that cadmium yellow is quite a bright one. And so we're going to paint this nice light grass, a nice pale sunlit patch of grass right across here like that. Great fun, this is very nice light green. And if you want a little bit darker, if you think, oh, that's a little bit too yellow, what you need to do, or what you can do, is just take your brush, put it straight into the green, just try it out on your palette first, quite damp but not soaking wet, and then go straight into that while it's still wet, and it'll give you a nice soft gradation, a nice soft blend. And you can take that up there, give it a bit of a texture, that's fine. So there is our light green. And now what we're going to do, well, even while that's still nice and damp, that's no problem, we're going to do an olive green, and I'm going to change my brush again. In fact, I'm going to use one of my well, it's not my brush, but it's one of the specialised brushes that I use. It's a fan brush, it's a fan stippler, and I think that's a Van Gogh actually. I think I got the wrong one, but we'll just pop the other one out. Yep, that's the one. It's the fan stippler. Because they've got the same type of handle, I've put an S on it so that I can tell which is which. And what we're going to do for that, now for these, I'll give you a tip. What you need to do, you don't need to make these too wet. So dip it into your brush or your water and squeeze out the excess water with your fingers and thumb. You don't need these ones too wet, otherwise they'll just go puddly. So what we're going to do for this one, we need a nice olive green. So we are going to pick up, again, some sap green, and we're going to put that down there, and we're going to mix it with some yellow ochre. So when you mix that yellow ochre, it dulls it down rather nicely and gives you a very delicious olive green. I will put all of these mixes, all these combinations of mixes, into the description box for you. You don't have to remember them, so don't worry. And I think we're just going to have a clump of trees off to the right here. So with this type of brush, what you do, we'll be going into trees later on. In another video, I shall be doing trees in a bit more a lot more detail. But for now, we're just going to tap up and down like that. That's all you do, just tap, tap, tap. And you've got an instant clump of trees. And that's all we're going to do. This is only a simple painting. We're not going to be doing anything too detailed today. This is just how to paint, or how to mix your colours and apply them to your painting. So there we go. And what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to go back to that light mix. In fact, I'm going to use that same mix. Here we've got some, because what I need to do, I need to bring that down, this down a bit further. So I'm going to use that, but we need that to be a little bit darker. So I'm just going to pop some more green into it very quickly. Just slap some more green in like that. And not right down to the bottom, because I've got another little bit I want for that. But I just want to bring that down just a little bit further. What I am going to do is mix a bit of the shadow mix into it, just to darken it just a touch more. So you can adjust this however you want it. Once you've got the basics, you can adjust it. That's the beauty of watercolour. People think it's difficult. It's not. You just adjust it. So there we go. There is our olive green. And now I'm going to show you how to make a nice dark green. And I'm going to use that same brush, I think. But this time we are going to use two colours again. We're going to use a cadmium yellow. So I've squeezed out my brush. We're going to use a cadmium yellow. And if we can find a spare space, we'll pop some down like that. And we're going to use a Payne's grey, which is that one there. You can use black if you want to, but not everybody likes to use black. There's nothing wrong with it. If you weren't supposed to use black in watercolour, they wouldn't make it. Bit like white. There's a bit of myth with black and white. People say, oh, you should never use black and white in watercolour. Well, if that's the case, why did the manufacturers make it? Absolute nonsense. You can use whatever you like and whatever works for you. So that's a nice dark green. And if you want a bit darker, just add a bit more Payne's grey. Or black, whichever you're using. So there you go. A nice dark green. And for this nice dark green, what we're going to do, we're going to put some dark tufts of grass just under this clump of trees here. We're just going to paint up like that. And we're going to just fade that out like that. This isn't going to be any particular scene. Just some, I went a bit over the top there, but that's all right. You're allowed to do that. It's our painting, we can do what we like. So, and our last mix I'm going to show you for today will be a nice Bluebell mix. Now, people get very worried about Bluebell, painting Bluebells, but you don't need to. Now, I'm going to use a stippling brush for this. If you don't want to use a stippling brush, use a round brush. Well, I'll tell you what, I will. Just for you, I will use a round brush, because I appreciate not everybody's got a stippling brush or even wants one. So I shall use a nice round brush. So we're going to, again, moisten our brush. And for this, you only need two colours. You need a cobalt blue. Let's find a space that we haven't already used up on our palette. My painting is a bit like my crafting. I'm far from tidy. And I'm just going to wash my brush out just a little. And we're going to pick up some permanent rose. Just a little to begin with. Oh, that's a gorgeous colour. So you don't need much of this. It's a strong colour. So just paint that in and make it nice and puddly to begin with. And what we're going to do here, we're going to have a nice patch of bluebells along here, just in this little corner here. Not going to go all the way across. We're just going to have a nice patch of bluebells like this. And what I'll do, in case anyone has got a stippling brush or might be interested in using one, I'll show you what we do with it. So we'll do it both ways. We'll do it this way to begin with. Just pick up our colour and we'll just file that out to the edges like that. Just paint that out to the edge. It's going a bit dry. It's because it's so warm in here. The sun is gorgeous and it's drying it very, very fast. It's drying the paint very, very fast. So there is our patch of bluebells. There is our base coat, so to speak. And if you want a bit of texture into that, what we need to do, we're going to use the same colours, but again, we're going to do what we did with the other brush. Just dip it in the water and squeeze it between your thumb and your forefinger. You don't want this too wet, otherwise it'll just go puddly. So there we go. And again, we're going to pick up a slightly thicker mix this time. Same colour, cobalt blue, and I'm going to go straight into the permanent rose. So just a little bit of permanent rose. And I'm just going to take a touch more. That should be glued down. It's come unstuck. Never mind. So just a touch more. This you just need to put in a touch at a time. It's a strong old colour. And I think that'll do. So while it's nice and damp still, this will create texture. This brush is designed to create texture. It's one of the Terry Harrison ranges. And all you do is you stipple. And there you have a nice patch of bluebells. And just to finish this little scene off, we're not going to do anything new. I think that's probably enough for today, or enough new stuff for today anyway. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my fan brush again. I'm going to make up another bit of olive green. So we need yellow ochre. Well, it's not actually, it's cadmium yellow I'm using. So I'm going to, this time, let's do that. Let's use a bit of cadmium yellow. We'll pop some yellow ochre in it. There's no harm in mixing your own. Once you've got these basics, you'll find your own colours and you'll find your own combinations of what you want to do. So we're just going to dull that down with a bit of yellow ochre. Then we're going to go in with our sap green. And we're going to give it a good mix, a bit more sap green, I think. So we want that reasonably dark, not very dark, but that'll do, I think. But not too wet. With these thick brushes, you don't want them too wet. And we're just going to finish off. Actually, I suppose we could have had it a little bit wetter than that, but never mind. And we're just going to finish off like this. And the beauty of these brushes, I'll show you another trick with these brushes. This is another one of the Terry Harrison brushes. And what I will do, because they're quite interesting brushes to use, in the comments below, I will add a link to Terry Harrison's website. So if you're interested in these brushes, you can get them if you haven't already got them. So I'm just going to do that. And these are the PX brushes. And I'll give you a little trick with this. While it's still wet, turn it around the other way. And you can paint your light grasses into it like that. So have some overlapping the bluebells, like that. And so you can crisscross these. You can have lovely texture. These fantastic brushes, no pun intended, are designed to create texture and special effects. But don't go mad. The trouble with these new techniques is you think, oh, that's good, I'll have another one, I'll have some more of them, and you end up taking all the paint off the paper. So that'll do for that. And then all I'm going to do, I'm not going to fiddle too much. That's the other that's the other thing. Stop fiddling. Once you think you've got to the end, don't be tempted to fiddle. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to put some more sap green and maybe just a spot of yellow ochre on my brush or on my palette. So I've got a nice, not too puddly, but firm. I'm just going to put some darker colour, darker green here, and I'm just going to pop a little bit of Payne's grey into that to make it a bit darker. Oh, that's a bit too dark. Never mind. So nice and dark right at the front here, and we'll just paint up some grasses, but I'm not going to do any more to that. So there we are. We have our shadow mix, our light green, our olive green, our dark green, and our bluebell mix. And we have a very simple little scene. And I will add all of these mixes in the description below. And I'll add the link to the Terry Harrison brushes to his website, because they're fantastic brushes if you haven't already got them. And you might find them useful. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And I might be back before Thursday, because if you were with me yesterday, you would have seen me do the unboxing of our Paper Craft Society. And there are a couple of bits and pieces I'd like to show you, projects I'd like to show you with that. So I'll probably come back tomorrow now, on Tuesday, to show you the first project of that. But I will be back on Thursday with another mixing, and this time, the next mixing one we do, we'll be mixing different greys. So I hope you enjoy this one, and I'll be back Tuesday, oh, that'll be tomorrow now by the time this goes up, with the first of our projects. I'll probably do 3 projects from the Paper Craft Society, and I'll be back tomorrow on Tuesday with our first of those. So I hope you've enjoyed that and found it useful. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do stay safe, everybody. Take care, And as always, happy painting. Bye bye for now.